Mr. Amar. Actually, I have a request. BRS Secretariat, Dr. Kei, she has another meeting as well. So she would like to make her presentation at the earliest. So I would like to all the participate to make this Mr. Amar's discussion after the Kei's presentation. We can make the discussion together. So I am giving the floor to Dr. Kei. Dr. Kei, now the floor is for you. You can start with your opening remarks, and then continuously you can start your presentation as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yasar, and thank you very much for KISR for organizing this workshop. And I would like to welcome participants from Iraq to discuss about National Implementation Plan today. I think that this has been very valuable opportunity for this region to improve and initiate the actions towards the finalization of the initial NIP, transmission, and updating of the NIPs reflecting newly listed POPs. We have all noted that it could be one of the challenge that you have is the language, that most of our guidance documents are in English only, and perhaps it is being that difficult to reach out to your stakeholders on that basis. And therefore, this opportunity provided by KISR to have the focused capacity building activities in this region in Arabic has been very, very appreciated. Thank you very much. And I would like, my presentation will be in English. But I hope
sure. Yeah, sure, Kei. I think you can share your screen as well.
Yes, I will now share my screen. You see the PowerPoint slide. I will try to keep.
Yeah, it's visible now. Yeah, super good. Go ahead.
Okay. So my first presentation relates to the available guidance under the Stockholm Convention. Here is our website. Again, it is in English only, but we have the rich set of guidance documents that relate to National Implementation Plan. The first one, the very basic ones, include the decisions that were adopted by the Conference of the Parties, and the main guidance documents called Guidance for Developing a National Implementation Plan for the Stockholm Convention. And this document describes the steps towards developing and submitting NIP in phase approach. The first phase is about establishing coordination mechanism and organization process. First, you will need to have such mechanism established within the country to have the team of and stakeholder group in order to collect information, formulate NIP, and future through that coordination mechanism, you can agree and finalize the NIP. To begin that process, it is important to know what are the new information or new set of procedures that needs to be reflected in the NIP. Often we have this fact sheets on newly listed POPs that will provide basic information on the newly added chemicals. The risk profiles and risk management evaluation documents are also very helpful because it provides information on risks, how it will affect environment and human health, and also availability of alternatives to those POPs, how you can manage the POPs at the national level, possible countermeasures, and so on. Those are all included in these risk profiles and risk management evaluation documents developed by the POPs Review Committee. There's also a checklist for the legislator. This is very helpful too, in order to reflect the new POPs in the national legislation. So as the first step, the country needs to develop coordination mechanism and organization And the guidance document provides such example of coordination committee and how to go about. And at the second phase, once you have the stakeholder group established, you can start the establishment of POPs inventories. And you need to also assess national infrastructure and capacity so that the NIP can describe what are the measures taken in order to address newly listed POPs in accordance with the Stockholm Convention. For this purpose, there are some documents, for example, guidance related to inventory development and guidance on alternatives to specific new POPs. There's also guidance on BATBEP, best available technique and best environment process, that relates to unintentional POPs, as well as newly listed industrial POPs. For dioxins and furans, there's a toolkit for identification of dioxins and furans that could be used and to develop national action plan in accordance with Article 5. So with this guidance document, you can start to develop preliminary inventory of POPs. The inventory does not need to be very extensive. The purpose of the inventory is to determine whether that chemical production or use is relevant to your country, and if it is used or produced, then how much it is how much it exists in your country, or how much is imported or exported. And in this way, you can assess what kind of national infrastructure or capacity needed in order to eliminate those POPs. It's also useful to look at the Rotterdam Convention documents. For example, Rotterdam Convention's decision guidance documents available in the Rotterdam website. There's a Rotterdam Convention resource kit, which is very useful to and have a set of guidance documents that describes how to implement Rotterdam Convention or Stockholm Convention POPs. The organization called UNITAR has been making available some e-learning tools and training materials on their website. And here on my slide, I listed some available chemicals and waste platform training and another module to assess the national profile on infrastructure and capacity needs. And currently, we are developing another new online module for NIP development and review. So once it is available, I hope that it could be helpful for further support parties in developing NIP and updating it. Now, when it comes to the development of POPs inventory, it is important to look at chemical specific information. We have some guidance on PCB and DDT and pesticides. Those are, many of them have been there since initial 12 POPs, but we recognize that these are still problematic to many countries. So please do look at PCB as well, not just only the newly listed POPs. And there's another set of information that could be very useful, which is global monitoring plan for POPs and some guidance on sampling, screening, and analysis of POPs. The tool that is provided by OECD, for example, eChem portal, could also be used in order to look at the risks and the exposure element of POPs. For PCB, we have requirements to label it and remove it. And we have developed a set of guidance on labeling of products and articles that contain POPs. And another very useful guidance document that relates to legal framework to implement the Stockholm Convention. which is currently available on the website, and we are now revising it to make it a bit more user-friendly. This is coming up. With regard to socioeconomic aspects, there is a guidance called Guidance on Calculation of Action Plan Costs for Specific Persistent Organic Pollutants. And this was revised in 2017, and you can find it on the website. But the third phase, this is to assess the priority and objective of the implementation of the Stockholm Convention in your country, based on the information you obtained through the inventory development. Once you know the scope of issues that you have to address, now is the time for you to prioritize what needs to be done first. So for this, we have two tools that are available listed here. And once you have done all these steps, then finally you are to formulate NIP. You already have the information on inventory. You already have prioritized the issues that need to be addressed. Then you will draft it in the National Implementation Plan format. There is a template outline of NIP. You can find in the guidance, the basic guidance on NIP. It is also important to include the waste management element using the Basel Convention technical guidelines on environmentally sound management. The IOMC toolbox for decision-making in chemicals management could also help you in formulating the NIP. And another very important guidance is called LIRA guidance. It is listed at the bottom. This was developed by the UNEP, and it could be very helpful when formulating NIP. And at the last step, and this is still very, very important step, because you have done all these efforts, invested time and human resources to develop the draft NIP, and sometimes it gets stuck and cannot be finalized or cannot be transmitted to the Secretariat for many reasons. It could include political change in your country, or it could include, change in personnel that end up not being able to finalize and submit a NIP. So it is important to ensure the coordinating mechanism that you develop at the phase 1 will stay and active throughout the process, and ensure that the NIP you have developed is endorsed and submitted. So once you've completed the steps, then you will be compliant with Article 7 of the Stockholm Convention. And hope that this was helpful, and I can continue with my other presentation, which relates to national reporting. Is that okay, Asar, that I continue with that?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So let me then now share my screen with the national reporting presentation. Do you see my screen?
You can make it to presentation mode. Yeah. Yes, super good.
Okay, all right. So National Implementation Plan is about Article 7, and it's an obligation for all Stockholm Convention parties. At the moment, there is no compliance committee, and there's no compliance procedure. So there are some parties that haven't submitted it and have not been requested. However, there's another obligation that all parties need to comply with, that is Article 15 national reporting. So once there is compliance mechanism, it will be more clear that all parties really need to work on the submission of Article 15 national reporting. It's very important because this information will be used for evaluating the effectiveness of the Stockholm Convention, which is in accordance with Article 16. And when you prepare your report, you're collecting your data about your country and how it is evolving. This is data that you need for yourself. You have developed a national implementation plan, and the reporting could be used to measure the success or progress made in the implementation. It is also fine to indicate that you are facing challenges, because then it could be addressed by revising the national implementation plan and then, find out the best course of action in order to achieve the objective of the Stockholm Convention, which is to eliminate POPs and protect human health and the environment. And here, this is an example of the analysis that the Secretariat undertook using the data submitted by parties in national reporting. Here you can see very clearly, I think this analysis was done around 2014, with older information, but it was clear that parties have taken legal and institutional measures for initial POPs, while the POPs listed in 2009 and 2011, the percentage of parties that have already implemented measures to control those POPs was quite low. Now, it will be interesting to see how this evolved over years, if this could be improved or not. So in the fifth national reporting, we will have new set of information from parties, and we can conduct the same kind of analysis. Another data we have is parties producing POPs. So we have analyzed initial POPs. You can see that most of the parties that have that said no is the red mark, and you can see most of the parties have stopped producing initial POPs. Whereas for POPs listed in 2009 and 2011, main issue here is the rate of response. You can see that not applicable as the highest number, and it could be that parties still did not have information about the status of those newly listed POPs at the time. But let's see how it goes, how it changes over the time. With regards to DDT, you can see that that the number of use of DDT has been reduced. It's been very stable in the total number, but sub-Saharan African region, you can see that the use of DDT has decreased. And so as I was saying, Article 15 reporting is mandatory. And the frequency is every 4 years. Last time, the fourth national reporting deadline was on 31st August 2018. And therefore, the next reporting cycle is due 31st August 2022. The last Conference of the Parties meeting in 2019, COP requested the Secretariat to update the format to reflect newly listed POPs, dicofol and PFOA. And we have the guidance on inventories where I just explained. COP also requested the Secretariat to improve the electronic reporting system, taking into account feedback by parties and the effectiveness evaluation framework and indicators. We will also reflect experience gained through PCB evaluation and PFOS evaluation process to make the inventory template a little bit user-friendly. And here it indicates the number of submission of the national reporting. And you can see second and third cycle, we have about 90 parties submitted, which is around half of the parties. And this is really a challenging situation because it is a requirement for all parties. But in reality, only like 1/4 of parties have submitted national reporting. The Secretariat is audited every so often. And one of the recommendations from auditors, very strong recommendation, was that the Secretariat ensures the 100% compliance by parties to submit to national reporting by providing support, by providing technical assistance, and so on. Therefore, it is one of the priority areas by the Secretariat to increase the national reporting submission rate. So the support we have been providing includes feedback on the post-reporting information. So we will be providing feedback in terms of completeness of the submission, the quality of information, and so on, so that the fifth national reporting will be improved. We also have had a small intersessional working group that had developed a manual and guidance document. Series of webinars has been organized, and the electronic reporting system itself has been improved. The tips that we are providing is that, when you go through the national reporting, it is important to ensure completeness. So avoid having the answers empty. And there's also very crucial to have numeric fields. We know that at the international level, we have different ways of using decimals or indicating the large number by using comma. And this creates a lot of issues when comparing the data among different countries. So this is very important. And the national reporting is every 4 years, but it is not to provide information on the 4 years only, but also to have all completed information, which will provide historical data. And therefore, the electronic reporting system, the answers are pre-filled for each country, pre-filled and taking the submission from previous year and let that country update the information. In this way, the accumulative information will be included in the fifth reporting that you will submit. And another thing that the Secretariat is working on is, we noticed that when you develop NIP, you've developed inventory and you have done a lot of assessment of your country situation. And very important information is included in the NIP. However, many parties, they don't really use the information from the NIP and try to respond to national reporting from scratch. And that will be that will take a lot more time and effort. It will be more efficient if you could use the information you have already developed in national implementation plan. And that could be transferred to national reporting automatically. So now we are developing NIP electronic system where we can have data exchange between NIP and the reporting. Hopefully this will be launched end of this year or early next year. I'll just go through very quickly how the electronic reporting system looks like. You can find it on our website under countries. I need to go to countries, and there you can find a menu called reporting. And here you can find electronic reporting system. And when you click on it, you will be prompted to this kind of page, and you have to provide login and password information. And if you don't have this information, but you still want to look at the reporting system, you can find the that you can access the reports submitted by other countries. So please click on national reports and then open the national reports submitted by others. When you open that reporting system, this is the main working area, and you have side toolbar here and top toolbar. There's also error checking feature once you are preparing the report. And you fill out all the information there, and you can submit information by clicking on Submit the National Report. It says deadline for submission is 2020, but this is a deadline for the 4th reporting. So the 5th reporting deadline is 2022, every 4 years. We're also developing dashboards for parties so that you can see data a bit more visually. You can have that in that national report website. Article 15 requests some quantitative data, not just only yes or no questions, but some quantitative data. And this is where we are working to have communication between NIP, the data from NIP, and national reporting. And this includes information on production, export and import, unintentional production, stockpiles and waste, and PCB and PFOS. So to develop inventories, as I explained, is the same process as for NIP. Look at the inventory guidance there for industrial and pesticides, as well as unintentional POPs. Right. So yes, thank you very much for your attention. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kei, for your informative talk and wonderful presentation. So now the floor is open for the discussion. So we can start with the Dr. Kei's discussion. Then we'll move to the earlier session. Okay, now the floor is open for the discussion. Whoever has doubt, they can raise their hand. Amar, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kei, about your presentation about the Stockholm Convention and the National Report and the NIP report. My question is the National Report updating every 4 years or every 2 years?
Right, so national...
every 1 year. As I know that Basel, it's every 1 year. It's updated. Stockholm every 4 years?
Right, thank you for the question. Indeed, the Basel Convention national reporting is every year. Stockholm Convention national reporting is every 4 years. And national implementation plans, this is a little bit different. So the NIP, every party needs to submit first NIP for sure, whenever possible, as soon as possible. And then whenever there is a major change in the situation, the NIP needs to be reviewed and revised. In the convention text, it says periodically. And yeah, so the NIP needs to be submitted within 2 years after the entry into force of the convention, the requirement. And then it has to be reviewed and revised periodically. And the question was how periodic you have to review and revise it. Theoretically, at every COP, the new POPs are included. And when you have to address new POPs, it's a major change. And therefore, the understanding is that 2 years from the amendment, the date when the amendment becomes effective, you will have to review the national implementation plan to reflect new POPs. So it could be 2 years. However, looking at the parties, it's very, very difficult to do this process every 2 years, and it's quite understandable. So, parties can express the difficulties in meeting this every 2 year requirements, and it could be changed in the future to have it a little bit more of the flexibility in terms of the periodicity of updating national implementation plans. But in short, currently the practice is every 2 years for NIP and every 4 years for national reporting under the Stockholm Convention. Thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you.
If there is any other question from the audience? I think there is no another question. I think, yeah, thank you so much for your wonderful talk. And I feel, yeah, nobody's raising their hand. Yeah, I think it's finished from your side. So whoever has any intervention for Mr. Amos' previous talk, they can raise their hand.
Thank you.
I feel there is no more question. So, yeah. There is no more question, I guess. So then we will have a 10 minutes break now. So we will be back to floor 11:30 Kuwait time. And I will request all the participants, because I would like to congratulate Iraqi team for their better publicity for this workshop, because we have the enormous number of participants, like one stage it was close to 60. So either they have to send their email address and name to my email address. I have already pinned to chat box. Or otherwise, whoever is the correspondent person from the Iraq side, they can prepare a list and they can send it to me. So, Engineer Walid, please.
السلام عليكم. إذا ممكن إرسال المعلومات والاسم على رقم الواتساب اللي تم تثبيتكم به لغرض إعداد قائمة بالمشاركين، وسوف أقوم بإرسالها إلى المنسق لهذه الورشة. شكرا جزيلا.
So yeah, either Iraq people has to send the list of the participants, or they can send to me directly to my email ID. So now we will go for a short break for 10 minutes. So we will be back to floor on 11:30 Kuwait time. And afterward, we have a UNEP representative talk. So please have a break now.